Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 cards from Temporal Forces, in my opinion. So of course, do let me know which is your favorite. These opinions will most likely, well, very likely, be different to yours. So be interested to see how this differentiates between different people, basically. So yeah. Also, shout out to Justin Basil for the proxies. Huge shout outs. So, number 10th, we've got Totara EX. I know people will already be throwing hands, grab your pitchforks, whatever. I personally think Totara is a wee bit underwhelming, and I think it needs just a bit more support, like grass types in general need more support. I don't think this deck will be terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think it will be, at least moderately playable to some degree, but I do worry that it's another grass deck that is going to flop a bit. And being weak to fire doesn't really do this deck any favors. Like, Radiant Charizard's still going to be pretty good. There is still the option to run Entei and Charizard anyway, even though this deck is kind of like one of its big selling points is that it can KO Charizard quite easily. Well, they can KO you back with Entei. So, it's a bit frustrating, and, it just, yeah, it feels bad. Like, Hero's Cape and Kricketune does seem like a very fun combo, just so you can get this bad boy up to 480 HP or something daft, which is just ridiculous. But it just feels kind of underwhelming in some regards. I don't know. It feels weird. I can't put my finger on it, but something feels off with Torterra. Maybe it's the fact that we don't really have a grass Pokemon that lets you draw cards, but yeah, Torterra, I don't know. Let me know what you think about Torterra down below, though. Do you think it's underrated, or do you think it's going to be really good? It's a hard one to rank for me personally, but yeah, that is Torterra EX. In ninth place, I have Gouging Fire, which is honestly my personal favorite EX from this set. I think Gouging Fire will be really good. Honestly, 230 HP is quite nice at Explosive Fire, just doing 260 base. It does have the very annoying effect, which a lot of people have pointed out is really bad, that says this Pokemon can't use Explosive Fire again until it leaves the active spot. So what's interesting about this is, of course, you don't just have to wait another turn before you can use it again. You can't use this until you literally leave the active spot. So, your opponent could just sit there, not KO Gouging Fire, and then if you whiff switch, then for 6 turns in a row, you have to use Heat Blast or something daft. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Not when we have switching cards, not when we have regular switch. And, your opponent can probably KO Gouging Fire quite easily anyway if they really wanted to. So, honestly, Explosive Fire just doing flat 260 seems pretty good to me. So, could definitely see this being quite nice in Lost Zone as a Radiant Charizard partner, or maybe just on its own, in fact, as a turbo deck, which is the deck that I'm currently trying to build before rotation. So, yeah, Gouging Fire, definitely think it has some solid potential. In 8th place, we have Raging Bolt. Honestly, not sure what to make of this card. I kind of want to rank it higher, but honestly, this thing has been a bit weird in testing. It is, in theory, fantastic, right? 70 damage times the amount of basic energy you discard. You have Sada to charge it up. You have Sandy Shock's EX to get that extra energy in play once your opponent hits 4 prize cards. Or wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. It's when you hit 4 prize cards. Wait, no, I'm changing my mind again. It's your opponent hits 4 prize cards. I should just put the translation on. I'm stupid. But yeah, Sandy Shocks. Sandy Shocks helps, right? But the thing is with this deck is you still need like a Sada every single turn just to get a 1 kill and stuff. Feels kind of bad. I know that sounds weird when, we're still in a format where you can get away with 2 killing things most of the time and 1 kill occasionally. But still, it feels kind of bad. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It's weird. It's like Torterra. There's something missing from this card fundamentally. That's like it seems perfect. The HP is fantastic. Bursting Roar again, fantastic. You have TM Energized to help with energy acceleration in the early game. You could even use Energy Sticker, or the fact that you're playing Lightning Energy means you could run Iron Hands and Generators, which is something I want to try out at some point. But Climactic Descent, I don't know, you need a lot of energy to do big damage. So yeah, I'm a bit skeptical on how good Raging Bolt actually is. But yeah, maybe this is a lot better than I think it will be. But yeah, should be fun to try out nonetheless. In 7th place, though, we do have Ancient Attackers, which, just to give you an idea of how competitive this list actually is, these guys are going to be a pretty good deck. And the fact that this is 7th place should give you a good indication of how, stiff the competition is, basically. But yeah, I definitely think these will be a good deck, very solid single prize attacking deck. I won't say budget because they might be quite expensive to acquire. Depending on when this video goes up, I've also got a deck list video planned for this. So if you're interested in building these ones, then you'll be able to, pay a visit to that video, hopefully, and swipe a list. But yeah, Roaring Moon and Crydon definitely seem decent. Excited to try these ones out personally. I do think they will be pretty good. However, one thing I will say is that the damage output being dependent on either how much stuff you have in the discard pile or how many Pokemon you have in play is a bit risky. And, there will be times where with Sada, or you don't have enough Pokemon to do enough damage. So, yeah, there will still be issues, right? It's not going to be a perfect S tier deck, but still be a lot of fun to try out nonetheless. Next up, though, is we have Cincineo, which is basically just a straight Lugia buff or Omnistar if you're Team Vikavolt. But yeah, Cincineo with the attack special roll does 70 damage for each special energy card attached to this Pokemon. Absolutely ridiculous attack. Just means that 2 Archeops in play, you're already swinging for 280, which is ludicrous on a single prizer. You could also just attach another energy and then you're just KOing Charizard and you're basically just laughing at that point. But yeah, very, very scary card. I think this will push Lugia back into A tier. I don't think Lugia will be S tier necessarily. It still kind of lacks a basic Pokemon that can want to kill things. Because when it had Yveltal Amazing Rare, Lugia was just in that perfect sweet spot of being able to choose between carrying things for 5 energy or just 2 killing things with regular Lugia. But yeah, Cincineo. I guess the main downside with Cincineo is that it has 110 HP, which is bad because if Lovable had survived rotation, I know this is quite a niche reason why it's bad, but if Lovable had survived rotation and this has had 90 HP, for example, then that could have been quite consistent. But yeah, sadly, not an option. And then Special Roll, of course, just needing a lot of energy. And so your opponent could boss KO this, which is quite annoying. But yeah, bit annoying, but unfortunate. Number 5, though, we do have the Great Tusk, which I've infamously made a bad example of in several videos. I keep forgetting the exact wording of Ground Collapse for some reason. But yeah, discard the top card of your opponent's deck, and if you play an Ancient Supporter, discard 3 more cards. So you can mill 4 for 2 colors, which is quite nice because we have Explorer's Guidance and Professor Sada, which also doubles as Energy Acceleration. Definitely could be a pretty strong deck, and yeah, definitely looking forward to trying out Great Tusk. It feels very strange to be saying we might be getting another competitive mill deck because I don't class Snorlax as a mill deck. I think Snorlax is just pass simulator, right? It's for some people. I don't hate people that play Snorlax. I don't hate Snorlax, but yeah, Snorlax is a bit too boring for me. I prefer to be actively milling my opponent's deck. So Great Tusk would be a lot of fun to play rather, but not a lot of fun to play against. Number 4, though, we have Buddy Poffin, which is basically just a consistency buff to, single prize decks. I don't actually have many trainers on this list because I wanted to steer clear of supporters. Now, that won't be true for the next few slides, but basically, I wanted to steer away from supporters and items in general because I think they kind of deserve their own video at this point, but I'm not going to make that video. Plenty of other people have. But yeah, Buddy Poffin just really is a fantastic card. Will be amazing for GLC and will be amazing for single prize decks, single prize cube formats, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely fantastic card. We'll see a lot of play. Next up, though, this is where things get a bit weird because I suddenly realized that making a top 10 list for this set was actually really difficult. There's just so many playable and arguably really good cards. It does have some cards that I think were, worth omitting, and some cards I was like, I genuinely can't decide if this is better than another one. So I decided to put several of them together, and I've done this for Maximum Belt and Reboot Pod, or Maxime Belt, as I call it. So Maximum Belt, I just think will be fantastic for decks like Torterra that need to do more damage, or Charizard, especially Charizard. But, Arctina as well, or Lost Tina actually as well, to KO Charizards. But yeah, Maximum Belt, fantastic card, very splashable in any deck, basically. Reboot Pod is more niche and will basically just be the reason why FutureBox can compete in the first place, although I have a very suspicious feeling that FutureBox might not be as good as we think it will be. I hope I'm wrong because it's a very cool deck and I quite like the whole bench a lot of one Pokemon to do a thing. But yeah, Reboot Pod, very broken card. Next up is we have Iron Crown and Miraidon, which might be a controversial pick for second place, but if we're going purely off the cards themselves and not just the decks, I do think Iron Crown is an absolutely broken card. Plus 20 damage as a modifier in general is just so broken, and the fact that you can stack multiple of these on the bench, fantastic. And then Miraidon doing 40 damage and accelerating 2 basic energy cards from the deck, fantastic, because we can modify this damage with Iron Crown, Future Booster Capsule, and just set up stuff like Miraidon EX, the Dragon type one, as well as other attackers like Iron Valiant. So yeah, very scary cards overall. Next up though is we have Prime Catcher, which is a Bug Trio buff. Yeah, fantastic. We got some Bug Trio buffs. But yeah, Prime Catcher is arguably the best card in the set, and for good reason. It's a Switch and Gust all in one, which is fantastic. It gives you so much creativity for gusting. I know it's a bit of a boring card, and to be honest, I've not really enjoyed playing this card in testing because it's like more of it's a gust effect. It's a bit boring, basically. It's not like Ancient Drum where you can draw a bunch of cards. It's not like Maximum Belt where you can get a surprise KO. It's literally just a gust effect, which is it's just a bit boring, really. Like there's no other way of saying it. Like I don't even have Neo Upper Energy or whatever it's called, and I think that's a much more interesting card and will be more fun to experiment with because there's no difference to playing this and Boss effectively. I know this is better than Boss's Orders, but it's just like it's a gust effect. There's not really a lot to say about it. It's good, but it's kind of boring. So it's whatever. But yeah, I know some people will, of course, really enjoy this card, and it's going to be a lot of fun to play and all the rest of it. It'll make Wug Trio a better deck, but sadly, Prime Catcher it's a bit boring for me personally. But yeah, also you could argue that Master Ball should have made this list as well, but is what it is. But yeah, thank you for watching. It's been Out of Power. I know that a lot of people will disagree with my top 10 list, which is kind of the point of these videos. If everyone had the exact same opinions, then there would be no point in multiple YouTubers making them. Otherwise, it would just be pointless. So yeah, it's cool to see that people have different opinions and very different takes. But of course, do respect other people's opinions. I'm up for debate. I'm up for talking about why you think things should be different. But of course, keep it tame because sometimes, for whatever reason, it's a very small part of this community, but small people do take things very personally for some reason, even though it's a card game at the end of the day. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down below, of course. And yeah, thank you for watching.